This is a movie starring Charlie Chaplin from 1931. He plays a homeless person who stumbles into a friendship with a drunk millionaire while also falling in love with a blind flower saleswoman. Farhan and Fahad.
Hey guys, what's up?
What's going on?
Farhan, you chose this movie for Fahad to watch, and Fahad took his time to watch it.
I did. I kept pushing it off because it is a movie from the silent era. It's a little tough to watch, but I did end up enjoying it.
Well, that's good, man. Glad to hear it. Was it as tough to watch as you thought it was going to be?
No, not at all. So it's pretty engaging. There's always like a bit of visual comedy or some visual gag going on.
It's not too long either. That always makes it
and
easier.
it's not too long.
Yeah,
right.
runtime's what, an hour 20 something?
Yeah, it's under 90 minutes, yeah.
It's a silent movie. If you're watching this for dialogue, then you need to question your life and
For
what
the writing.
decisions you've made.
Dialogue is just part of the writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's
Right.
obviously not much writing because it's a silent movie.
Yeah.
I guess we can judge the final notice that the lady receives, like, "Dear Madame, you're owing $22 in rent unless paid by tomorrow
true, that's
morning.
true.
We
that was
shall
poetry.
take
That's
possession."
telling the story, man. It's
That was poetry, right?
poetry. No, but it is such, it's so like that kind of thing plays such a huge role in a silent movie that like would be totally unnoticed in a talkie.
Well, so here's the one piece of what I would call dialogue. The very opening scene when they're
unveiling the
whatever
statue.
they are. They're unveiling that statue, that sculpture, and they're like, and they're like talking like that. That's technically dialogue.
It is technically, and it's funny.
But what does that gibberish tell you? Like that the speech is unimportant?
Right. He's just mocking.
He's
Charlie
mocking
Chaplin does this a lot.
like that elite class.
Yeah. He mocks people specifically in like speeches and just things, proper etiquette in general. That's his whole thing. He just mocks that whole system. So don't watch this for the writing.
I mean, if you're gonna watch a silent movie for the writing, you don't understand what a silent movie is, I guess.
You don't understand anything.
All right, guys. Narrative.
The narrative. I went with the 75.
I went with the 65.
Oh, it's 80. Engaging, not really. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing really to write home about.
So here's how I analyzed it. I thought most of the screen time was spent on the visual gags,
Right.
which is fine because in this silent movie time period, I think that's like the best thing you can do with your time. Screen time. They can't really advance the story much because it's just too much of a simple story, and you can't like get into real details, right?
Right.
Unless you're relying too much on visual cards.
Yeah,
just like
those
the
title cards.
narration, those title cards. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with that. And I like the visual gags in general. But the plot I found to be a little unoriginal because it's just like a romance story. It's cliched. And then the other plot line I found in this movie was like the friendship between the rich and the poor man, which I don't know if you can call it a friendship, right?
Yeah, it's a little tricky calling it
Well,
that.
I think this will go back into what Farn was just saying about how Charlie Chaplin likes to, I guess, poke fun or ridicule that elite class or elitism in general. Where this guy, when he's a drunkard, he's lost his inhibition, so he's kind of down to earth and doesn't care who's rich or poor, and just is willing to be friendly with people. But the second that he's sober, he's like, oh, I can't be associated with this, or like, who is this person?
Right.
I mean, that's how I took it. I mean, the narrative, yeah, I agree with everything you said, Fahad. I did like the story, even if it is cliched, so I gave it a 75 for that reason.
So I think it's hard to call a movie from 1931 unoriginal because I feel like this is like the original.
But as far as it doesn't have to be compared to movies,
Yeah,
though.
that's
It
true.
can be compared to like literature, other forms of literature, right?
Right. And to what we've seen thus far. So in terms of that, yeah, definitely. But the reason that I gave it an 80, I think that is probably upper end. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I watch it again, maybe I'll give it something lower. I don't know. But the reason I give it an 80 is because the parts that are engaging, or the parts of the narrative, I'll say, that are engaging or are charming, are like especially charming. And the fact that they can do that in a silent movie and convey the kind of emotion that he does sometimes, that really, really stuck with me. You know, there's a couple of scenes that I'll be honest, when I recommended this movie, I didn't remember the full movie. I remembered a couple of scenes that I thought were really artful. They were poetic narratively. And so that the whole reason that I really chose this movie.
Gotcha.
So I think those scenes were done so well, and they were so charming, and they appealed to emotions so much that. But because you're right, otherwise it's physical comedy, and that's the whole movie. It's just slapstick.
I thought the direction was done well. Like everything was executed well. The framing of the camera, they're working with the static camera most of the time. It was all blocked perfectly, right? The action's kept on the screen, and the few times that the camera moves around to try to capture the action, that's done fine when the camera actually does pan. Chaplin did the direction.
Yeah.
Chaplin acted. Chaplin did the score. It's amazing.
I mean, he's a one-man show back in the day, man.